Hi there. In this lecture we see Mikhail Tal against Wolfgang Unzicker in 1960, the Stockholm tournament, round 3. So e4, e5, Tal plays knight f3, knight c6. He plays now the Spanish game, or Royal Pairs. We have the Morphy defense, a6, bishop a4, knight f6, white castles, bishop e7, rook e1, b5, bishop b3, d6, c3, black castles, h3, knight b8. So this is the Breyer variation, a favourite of Magnus Carlsen. We see d4, knight bd7, and now a very interesting move, c4. Very, very interesting indeed. Tal has an idea of trying to undermine black's pawn chain with c5 at some point. In fact, c5 comes now, pretty much, not without any delay. We see queen c7, c takes d6, bishop takes d6, bishop g5. And now here is a detectable mistake. So sometimes it's difficult to see where one side went wrong against Tal, but on this occasion it does seem as though e takes d4 might be the way to go on this particular occasion. If bishop takes f6, black has to accept double pawns though, because knight takes, there will be e5, runs into e5. So let's say, g takes f6, queen takes d4, black should be fine. For example, here, black has a small edge in theory. The pawns are not everything on the chessboard. Black has the bishop pair, black has the e5 square. There are things going for black. So that would seem to be the way to go, this e takes d4. And if knight takes d4, here's another variation. Black can play g5, not with the idea of winning a pawn. That would be far too risky here, but rather knight e5 with a nice comfortable position. If black isn't greedy, if black is greedy, then sure, knight f5, and then white's like crushing it here is a big advantage. So anyway, there is a way of playing it with e takes d4 in the game. It seems as though with c5, this diagonal is actually kind of pretty sensitive for black. We have d takes c5, bishop takes c5, knight c3. There's also a nice outpost square, d5, bishop b7, rook c1, queen b6, and now a really nifty positional move actually for 50 points. What would you play here? Well, it's kind of prompted anyway. There aren't too many options, but it's attack and potentially it's defense and potentially attack. There aren't too many options actually, okay, but it's nifty. I find it a little bit nifty to protect like that because the rook can later swing here. So it's protecting f2. We have rook fe8, and now knight d5. Knight takes, bishop takes, and here we have rook ad8. Interestingly, even though it might be lucrative to take out this light square bishop without a counterpart, but it turns out here queen takes d5 is rather nasty for black. Look at this position. There's a lot of pressure on pieces. If queen a7, can you see what white could play in this position, which is really like winning material for 50 points? This is just a variation. What would white play here? Okay. Rook takes c5. So if queen takes, we're going to take the knight. But if knight takes, it's a nasty pin. And here we can play b4. So it seems knight takes d5 is fraught with issues, actually, because of queen takes d5. So that's a fascinating moment. So rook ad8. And now this move, rook ec2. So again, it's rather awkward to take because of queen takes, and then the bishop's looking at the rook, or rather just bishop takes d8 immediately as well. it's just not possible, it seems. So bishop e7 is played, but white gets a magnificent advantage now in any case with rook c6. The queen goes to a5 here. a7 is not much better. I mean, this is a bad position because of, for example, bishop e3, and there are resources in the position I don't want to quite spoil yet. So let's just go with the game continuation. I don't want to spoil it for you, this idea. But actually, when this bishop moves, when a piece moves, there's also an aspect of clearance. Clearance is a great tactical concept in its own right, and funny enough, even the clearance of one square, let alone, a file, a rank, a diagonal, even just one square clearance can mean a very, very important, potentially decisive, tactical implication for the whole game outcome, even the clearance of one square. So that's why I didn't want to spoil bishop e3, but, bishop d2, what does it actually do? You might think, well, what's the only thing it does is to attack the queen. Is there anything else it does? You might be missing something subtle about what bishop d2 does. But in terms of clearance, that's the clue. It has actually cleared a square. It's cleared the g5 square. We can replace now, because of that clearance, we can substitute in another piece potentially, which could be very, very handy. Tactically, this is a very subtle tactical point. And also, by the way, when we look at tactics, we've got to be aware of our own kind of subtle tactical weaknesses at every point in the game as well. The blunders are all there waiting to be made, and we've got to be aware of our own clearances. But here, it's a very positive clearance, very, very positive, and it's with tempo. Sometimes clearances can be bad. The opponent's pieces can go on key squares, but here it's a fantastic clearance move. And we have the move b4. If queen a4, this doesn't really help matters. White has a fantastic resource in this position. Can you spot it for 50 points? Okay. White can actually give up the e4 pawn here with bishop b3, because simple example is bishop takes f7 check, and we can use that newly cleared square, knight g5. You see that g5 square in this variation? So yeah, that means queen a4 isn't particularly nice. So we have b4 instead. But now, guess what? What does white play for 200 points? Yeah, and we do have a light square bishop without a counterpart. I like emphasizing that aspect of a position. When we have a bishop without a counterpart, for me that's just as significant as having the bishop pair. And we can actually do a lot of damage with that bishop without a counterpart. With bishop takes f7 check, it can give itself up, as Tal did. King takes f7. Otherwise, it's just losing the exchange. And, this is just a winning position. So king takes f7. And the point is, queen b3 check. The queen takes over that diagonal. King f8. And with this move, actually, black realized this is a lost position. And resigned on king f8. If king g6, then knight h4 check, queen f3 check, queen g3 check, queen g5 is checkmate. So king f8, and now, if the game had continued, then knight g5, using that square that's been cleared. So you can see clearance of even just one square can be a fantastic thing to look forward to, especially with tempo, and especially if you don't have to sacrifice anything. Clearance is usually involved with a sacrifice, but any move can sometimes have an aspect of a clearance. So you don't always have to sacrifice material to achieve the same effect. So here, what would black do? If knight d5, e takes, and there are venomous threats here, including knight e6, queen f3, d6, then queen f7. There's gigantic threats. If bishop takes g5, as an example, bishop takes g5, and if the rook moves d6, supports bishop e7 check. So here, bishop e7 check, and this is just absolutely crushing. We can just take the knight here, and that will be absolutely winning. But technically best is to go for the king, for example, like this, and it'd be mating shortly as well. That clears up everything, doesn't it, apart from the queen. So an absolutely crushing position. Let's have a look at that again. Knight g5, knight d5. Now if g6, by the way, queen f3 check, and we're looking forward to the f7 square there. That would be absolutely lethal. And if bishop f6, we just snap that off with that rook. If king g8, then that runs into d6 check, and then we can play knight f7 check and a classic smothered mate pattern. If knight f6, then we play d6, and then we've got queen f7 on the cards. So this is pretty hopeless. Queen d5, we can try and deflect the knight away from protecting the queen. So knight takes, we take the queen, and then come back for more, and then just take here. It's absolutely winning. We can actually just take the rook and queen with a massive material advantage. That's a big material advantage. And in fact, black can't even take on d8 there. It gets back row mated. So eventually. So yeah, you know, this is just, it's a magical game. It really is a magical game. This king f8 and resigning, realizing the hopelessness of the situation, realizing the subtle clearance aspect of bishop d2, supporting knight g5. Yeah, black's pieces are just not geared up for that bishop sacrifice. So yeah, small issues accumulating earlier, you know, are just punished. It's the accumulation of those slight issues that are drastically punished in the end. So black really, you know, from early on had to play accurately in the opening. So yeah, fantastic punishment in the Ruy Lopez. Tactical, sparkling game example. I hope you enjoyed it. And think about the clearance style moves that you can do for free. It's good to do this stuff for free in our own games. Okay. Thanks so much. Hi there. Thanks for getting to the end of the YouTube video. If you would like to see other Mikhail Tal games, I actually have an amazing course for Mikhail Tal, which is currently at 4.9 with over 400 students. You can check this out from the Kingscrusher TV page. So Chess Strategy and Tactics, Mikhail Tal's amazing games. You can check out some free preview videos as well here. If you do expand all sections, you can see the preview links to get some free previews. So I hope you do check out this course index and the free previews. So I really had a thrilling time actually checking out Mikhail Tal's games. So yeah, the YouTube video here you saw was just a sample from this course. I hope you check it out. Okay, thanks so much. Oh, by the way, comments, questions, likes, shares, all appreciated. And if you did get to this, you know, part of the video, please do leave some sort of comment like Tal fan. Okay, thanks again.